Hello everybody. So today what I'm going to do is react to a more positive video. That way, it's not always about me yelling at people with their stupidity. Now where is my full screen? Because I like to make it full screen just so, I don't know if it helps with you guys, like I've said, but it probably could. And I feel just more comfortable with it full screen. So, here we go.
The carnivore diet is unsustainable and I can no longer continue with this. That's the way I would be thinking if I listened to what dietitians and the food industry were telling me. In this video, what I want to do is talk about the carnivore diet, my experience with it, and also 7 of the myths that we constantly hear coming from dietitians and the food industry that don't stand up to even the simplest kind of scrutiny. So guys, if you like these kind of videos, you can support me simply by doing 2 things. Smash the like button and also subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah, please subscribe to him.
I'm grateful for the support. Okay, so let's get into it. So 10 months ago, I started the carnivore diet. I didn't start the diet intentionally, I just fell into it. And I think that's very similar to what happens with a lot of people.
When I went keto, I had something similar. I might have said this in the video, I'm not sure, but I said to myself, I'm starting keto, I want to try this. I want to see what happens. Now, I had a dramatic, almost drastic event happen because in the beginning, because I was a skinny pre-diabetic. So that's kind of a bad combination because when you're a skinny pre-diabetic, you'll lose enough water that you don't look at a healthy weight anymore. Like I had so much water that I had taken on so much water that I looked a healthy weight. And then when I lost all of that water, within a week, I lost 7 full pounds of pure inflammation. Pure. And I know that because I was peeing so much more. And that's what happens. It's normal. And just took in like salt and maybe ate a few little things here and there to kind of keep my sugar balanced and everything. But I was a skinny pre-diabetic. And so having lost all of that water revealed to me just how sick I truly was. And I'm glad I lost all of that water. And I'm glad that now I've regained that 7 to 10 pounds that I had lost before. Because at least now, if I eliminate carbs completely, I won't have as much of a reaction because I eat such small amounts of carbs anyway, that if I go full carnivore, I might only lose maybe at most a pound. And though that's not ideal, it's okay because it's not as noticeable. I started gaining weight. I had to be more on a paleo side of things, but I still gained weight. I was like paleo keto, so kind of borderline, but I cut out most carbs. I was on way less carbs than I was doing before. Way less. I was eating a lot more chili, and there were some days, like, it was keto chili, but I was eating a lot more carbs on some days and other days, but I steadily started gaining weight after like 6 months. I started gaining weight, 3 pounds at least every 2 to 3 months. And I've been maintaining ever since. So that's good.
And the reason is we don't go out there thinking that meat is going to be the solution to our...
Now, I somewhat thought meat was going to help, at least to some degree. Now, I went into keto thinking 30 days, if I don't feel good, I'll stop. But I wanted more meat because I knew that meat had the iron that I needed. So I knew upping my meat intake would get my iron up. But I didn't think that meat was going to fix my depression or my whatever. And guys, I know I haven't uploaded. To be honest, I need a break sometimes. Either I need a break or I'm just not mentally there. I might start reacting more to videos like this. There was a video I was going to react to. I'll react to it maybe tomorrow or the next day. I think you're really going to like her. And it's a her because I've subscribed to her channel. She hasn't uploaded. She only has 3 videos, and I'm really hoping she comes back because I really liked her. I'm thinking maybe she's just busy right now with probably family and school and stuff because she's still a teenager. She's probably still a student, if not, she's a full adult now because she's 18, but anyway, I'll save that for another video.
Problems. We don't go out there thinking that eating 10, 12, 14 eggs a day is going to be the solution to our health problem.
Eggs, I don't eat a lot of. Sometimes I'll have 4 eggs, like when I was living at home with my parents still, and I started this thing, I would have sometimes up to 4 eggs in a day. And sometimes I would even have eggs as a snack because there was nothing else around, and it was either eggs or potatoes and crap. So if there wasn't any cheese or like extra meat or leftover hamburger veggie mix, I don't know what to call it, but if there wasn't anything left over from that, then I would have eggs, and yeah.
And so when you start the diet, you might start like I did by going low carb or keto first. And what happens when you go low carb or keto is you start to realize that a lot of the problems that you had been experiencing over the last months or years start to dissipate. That back pain that you had, or that constant feeling of lethargy you had throughout the day, suddenly...
Lethargy was a huge one for me. I literally felt, I even said this on a Dr. Barry live back when he did it more on Facebook. I said this, because I started it at 23 years old, and I said, on standard American diet, I felt 90 years old. Now on keto, I feel 23, which is my actual age. And they could relate to that. The main reason I felt this way was because of the lethargy. And I know I had some lethargy going on I knew there was something going on internally because I was 112 with a ferritin level after my iron infusions were done. 6 months I dropped to 13. Was it? Yeah. And then I think I was like, nope. I can't let this keep going on. Was it? Yeah, 13 and then 10. I can't exactly remember. I'm trying to remember how the whole thing went, but it was bad. It was bad. My iron was at a decent level, but the ferritin just was not stable at all. And I did not like where it was. I felt horrible. I wondered why I felt like I was getting worse, despite eating more meat, adding vitamin C, doing all those things. I always wondered, why do I feel worse?
Goes away. Suddenly, you notice a spring in your step that just wasn't there before.
Yeah, especially in the early mornings. I'm not a faster. I don't fast for probably more than 9 to 11 hours. Sometimes 12 to 14 if my bowels are just not having a very good day. Because I'm very skinny, and I'm not anorexically skinny, but I'm skinny. Very skinny. And I don't really like to use the term skinny because of it just has kind of this negative, you're so skinny kind of feeling. It feels almost like an insult. But very lightweight, and people would, like, looking at my BMI, you'd say, oh, you're underweight. I got these wide shoulders, but this really small body. It's really weird. My mom says you're not, like, my mom keeps saying to me, you're not anorexic. If you were anorexic, your ribs would be all sticking out, you'd have bones sticking out everywhere. And I don't. And I haven't been able to gain any more weight since I gained those last few pounds that I lost. But yeah. But yeah, so I don't fast. But when I intentionally do, or when I have to, and my bowels start to feel like better and everything just starts to like wake up a little more, I get this spring in my step. Like I walk more, I don't know, energetically. I have this, it's not like a whoa kind of energy, but it's like a ooh, this is cool.
And so everything's going really well and you're happy with the results that you've had. You're losing weight and you're feeling better. But then for one reason or another, the already low amount of carbohydrate that you're eating starts to get lower. For me, it was working out why I had a stomach upset. For other people, it might simply be there's nothing around at the time, so you skip carbohydrates for a few days. But ultimately what happens is we find ourselves eating only eggs, meat, and maybe some dairy. And then in short order, what we start to notice is that we are feeling even better than we had been before.
Yes, and there's a reason for this. I don't know if he'll explain it. If he doesn't, then I will.
So we've noticed now that we went on keto, we got better, and then we stopped eating carbs entirely, and
even on paleo for me, I felt a lot better. My A1C was a little higher, like 5, but yeah, like paleo in particular, I don't eat a whole heck of a lot in terms of carbs, and I'm always able to maintain my weight now. It doesn't really go below like 1 or 2 pounds, below what it is at its highest.
Started to feel even better again. And the thing is, for most of us, no one's actually telling us about this. No one's lecturing to us on TV or at school about...
No, because they want you addicted to carbs and sugar. And because they want you full of energy, like in terms of like instant energy. And they make money off the those vending machines, you get those little candy packages and the drinks and all that crap. They make money out of that probably, I'm sure. I don't know if the school themselves makes money off that, the entire thing anyway. But so there's more money to be made if you eat, because the more food you eat, the more you're going to have to buy food. Like, the more you're going to have to, like, the more hungry you are, the more you're going to have to buy stuff, right? So, yeah.
How we need to reduce carbs. What we've done is we've found something out. We've found that our body responds well to a particular way of eating completely by accident. But we feel better, so we just keep doing it. And then what happens is you get a lot of naysayers around you, the dietitians, the friends, the whoever telling you you're going to die. This is not a healthy way of eating.
It's funny. My mom, okay, so I was having a this was way back when I was still living at home, and I was having a horrible week with my bowels, and I'm like, I cannot do this anymore. I'm in too much pain. My bowels are killing me with all the salads and all the freaking fried things. And I said, like fried veggies, that is, stir fries. I said, I can't do this anymore. I need to go carnivore for a few days. And she was like, no. Like, actually, no. What happened was I went carnivore for a month, I think. It was a lot of chicken, so I didn't feel as good on that diet. Because it was, like, thinner. I tried to add butter when I could. Like, if it was beef, it was really thin. I was like, I'm going to go carnivore for a little while. And she's like, no, you're going to go nuts. You're going to drive yourself crazy. Meanwhile, she's sitting here in front of the TV with a freaking bag of chips. I mean, I love my mother, but hypocrite much? I mean, come on.
You need to cut it out. You need to eat your breads, your pastas, your vegetables, your fruits, etc., etc.
She just felt like I'd go crazy. I didn't. I was like, look, I'm only gonna do this. I was promising that this carnivore thing was gonna be temporary because I liked some of the meals with the veggies. I really did. I enjoyed the little vegetable meat mix, like basically it's like good fatty beef because the spices you don't taste if there's no fat in the beef. So fatty beef, ground beef, spices, and some veggies, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, onions. My mom would add carrots, but you don't have to add that part. It wasn't a whole lot of carrots either. It was like really small bits. I'm trying to remember what other vegetables there were, but oh, so good, so good. Ugh, and I missed that more than anything. And when I started eating veggies again, I started slow. I was like, I'll have some veggies tonight, but I'll just start slow. And the stir fries were actually kind of nice too. Because she have olive oil and the veggies were just covered in oil and salt and spices, and it was just to die for. Oh, I think I might try that again. I might. If I'm ever there and she's frying up hamburgers, she might, I don't know. I'll ask maybe if she could make that for me.
But we'll come to those naysayers in a moment. Now,
and by make it for me, I mean like have it for supper one night while I'm over there. Because if I don't eat fiber every day, my bowels are fine. I'm okay. I'm not in pain as much.
For me, as I say, I've been on the diet for 10 months now. At no time in those 10 months have I ever sat and thought to myself, you know what? I'd love to be eating some carbs. I'd love to be drinking that alcohol that my friends are drinking. I'd love to be eating that ice cream.
I mean, there actually were times where I was like, I do kind of wish I could go back and be healthy, but I know that that's not the way to eat. I know that's not the proper diet because that's what got me sick. I'm like, there's no point going back to eating the way I was because I'll just get anemic again. So why go back, right? I'm going to heal myself and then go back to the way I was eating before and then get sick again. What's the point, right? So my brain has some decency to be like, I want to, but I shouldn't. I know that I shouldn't, and I'm pretty good at stopping myself for the most part. Christmas is a little bit hard. I don't completely derail myself, but it is definitely a lot harder because there's always those little treat things and, I have a carb addiction. I still have my carb addiction. I try to be careful as I can, and I still try to make sure I get all of my meat at the end of the day. A good dose, a good amount of meat so that I don't, have the keto flu at the end of everything.
And that's the great thing about this way of eating. It appears that once you actually get into this way of eating and your body becomes fat adapted, those cravings for those things that you thought you could never live without just disappear. So anyway, over the last 10 months...
I don't know about disappear completely, but for me, they diminished. It's like, it went from, holy crap, I want this so friggin' bad. It went from that to just, maybe even just a little bit of this would be kind of nice. Maybe nice, but sometimes it's like, other times it's like, I do want a little bit. It's never what it used to be though. I never used to make, like when I was on the SAD, I was living on that stuff 24/7 pretty much. And the only time I'd get meat was at supper, and it was only this tiny little itty bitty amount.
What's happened to me? Well, brain fog has got better, my focus has got better, concentration's got better. I no longer have gum disease, I no longer have bad breath, I no longer have bleeding gums. My arthritis is gone. I now have more strength on my right hand side where I previously have suffered a stroke and had weakness there. My balance is better and walking has improved. Following the stroke that I had a terrible limp. That has now reduced. I still limp, but it's nowhere near as noticeable as it used to be. And just before anyone says, but you had a stroke and you still want to continue with this way of eating.
It's not carnivore that causes this, vegans. It isn't. I know of tons of vegans that have had strokes. But you don't see people on the extreme end of carnivore going, yeah, I had a stroke last week and I've been eating carnivore for 2 years. I haven't heard of that. And if they did, they're probably not being completely truthful, because sometimes you can have some people might use olive oil and that can oxidize as well. So you have to be careful with that. And vegetable oils, they don't realize they're eating stuff that was fried in vegetable oils. So there's that.
This was nothing to do with the way I was eating. This happened when I was 17 years old, and it's the result of a hemorrhage that happened with an aneurysm.
An aneurysm? At his young age, at the time, he was so young and he had an aneurysm. Insane. Wow.
Sleep's better. My productivity is better. The list goes on, and I could talk endlessly about this. But what I want to touch on in this video is what kind of advice you'll get from dietitians, the food industry,
calories in, calories out,
TV personalities, people like that. And I had to think about it, and I thought about the 7 most common myths that are propagated by dietitians, the food industry, TV personalities, people like that. And these are myths that we just listen to and we just accept and we just absorb into our daily lives. But when we actually sit back and think about it, even for a few seconds, they don't stand up to any level of scrutiny. Any level of critical thinking can poke holes in these things. Okay, the first one is that seed oils or vegetable oils are heart healthy. Many of these even have a healthy tick or a heart tick of approval.
You know what's funny? I've noticed even vegans will cut these out. And a lot of vegans will resort to just cooking in water.
In the countries where they're sold. And what the food industry and dietitians will tell you is that vegetable oils or seed oils are so much more healthy for you and good for your heart than animal fats. But this just makes no sense. When you think about the amount of processing and chemicals that are involved in producing seed oils or vegetable oils versus producing beef tallow or lard, it just makes no sense. When you have to wash the oil in petroleum-based products, when you have to bleach the oil, when you have to deodorize the oil, and you still have other processes that need to be done, it doesn't sound like a product that is heart healthy. What other species of animal in the wild eats bleached, acid-washed products?
And what did we eat 150,000 years ago? We didn't have machines to make those.
Number 2 is you need carbs. My question is simple. Why? For energy. Fat gives me enough energy. I don't need energy.
Yes. You don't need instant energy from carbs. Because it's going to wear off very fast. And you're going to be like, by the afternoon.
From carbohydrate. But your brain needs glucose.
Your body makes it. Is he going to say that?
And that point is where a lot of people stumble. A lot of people feel like, that's right, I need to be feeding my brain. I need to be eating carbohydrates to feed my brain. And that's where a lot of people start to doubt keto or low carb or carnivore.
Your body makes enough glucose for your brain. I don't know if he's going to cover that or not.
But think about this. Go back thousands and thousands, millions of years.
Here we go.
When we were not as smart as we supposedly are now. When we hadn't evolved. What?
I think we're devolving now, buddy. I think we're devolving. You and I might be that minority that hasn't. You know, you and I and many other carnivores here, we might be the only ones actually resetting humanity back to its, because most of society now, I think, is devolving.
Makes our brain.
We're stupid. We think we can outsmart nature. No one can outsmart nature. That's where I think we've devolved. We've devolved so much that we think we're somehow special and superior to anything else. Nope, nope, nope. Everything has its place. And if you, now, anything that is actual just environmental waste and, doesn't biodegrade or whatever, that has no place in the earth, has no place on the earth, has no place in our bodies, has no place, anywhere. That stuff needs to be stopped. People need to stop making that stuff. Stop it. Just quit already. You know dang well you're not doing anything to benefit humanity in the long run. You know that.
Any different to that of a wolf or some kind of mammoth or whatever it is? What makes our brain any different that we would need to rely on processed food to provide us with energy?
Or even just like, you wouldn't see us just eating mostly fruit and veggies and tubers. You wouldn't see that, especially not every year. So what would we have to eat? Would we just be hibernating all winter, sleeping all winter long? Hiding out in the caves all winter long? No, we never did that.
Makes our brain any different that it would be evolved to rely on seasonal vegetables and seasonal fruits? And of course, it didn't evolve that way. Our body can produce as much glucose as required by the brain through gluconeogenesis. The next one is meat.
There we go.
Causes cancer.
Meat causes cancer.
My answer to this is simple. Why are we the only species this would happen to?
You know what? I never thought of it that way, but yeah. Why is it us? Why would it be us in particular? And my answer usually to that is there cancer in 150,000-year-old skeletons? Is there cancer in them? Do they have cancer? Look at them closely. Do you see any kind of lumps and whatever? Would you see any lumps? Is there any evidence at all that they had cancer? Any kind of cell that you notice? Because DNA stays there for a good long time. Did we have cancer back then? I don't think so.
You don't see any lions or tigers in the cancer ward. And if meat causes cancer, why, when there's been a global reduction in meat consumption based on dietary guidelines,
exactly,
do cancer rates continue to go up?
Yes, exactly.
Next one is keto is unsustainable. This one is a comment repeated by the food industry, by dietitians and people like that.
You know what makes it unsustainable? You know what actually makes it unsustainable? When you don't follow through with your, control. Like, you're not good with your control. Now, here's what happens. A lot of people... Now, I didn't consider any of my foods cheats because I believe in living a little, right? So I will have a small treat here and there, okay? I can afford to do that because my bowels don't react right away, right? Like, I make sure to mostly have foods that my bowels agree with. But I do allow myself some treats every now and again. And I can do that, especially if I'm in an environment where I'm not going to have them, just at my disposal all the time. If they're in my home, that's a whole different story. I can't sustain myself very well, or abstain from them, I mean. But keto is only unsustainable if you don't really make much of an effort to even try. If you don't make much of an effort to even try, and you just let the keto flu bring you down, and don't, take the advice of taking electrolytes, maybe having a small bite of something if you seriously can't, but don't go overboard with it. Vegan deterioration, I'm talking to you, girl. Yes, I am. And C-Star and Janine, I'm also talking to you. Yeah, that is, you're not giving it a fair shot. It's no disrespect towards vegan deterioration as a whole. I like her channel, but she's one of the ones that's like, no, I need carbs, I need gluten, I need this, I need that, I need. No, you don't need it. You can't go through life, living to eat. You have to eat to live only. Eat to live only. If you want to live a long and happy life, and maybe even improve some of the conditions you have to lower your carbs. You have to, because carbs cause inflammation. A lot. And so does gluten. Gluten is terrible for that. Terrible. Okay? Look into it more. Because it causes inflammation even in people who are not gluten intolerant, per se. It does other damage. If you're breaking out, and guys, there's a lot of hormonal disruptors in the standard food as well. Even in the healthier, so-called healthier versions, there's a lot of hormone disruptors. You shouldn't have a period so heavy that you literally get dizzy. I never had a period that heavy. I've had periods heavy enough to where I need to change every 2 hours. For a couple days, for 2 to 3 days. Normally for me, it's just 1 day of heavier period. And then it's like on the lighter side. It like kind of fluctuates sometimes. But it's never so bad that I'm like trying to hold onto the counter or whatever, right? So guys, like you're not, it's not a disorder. Keto is not a disorder. It's not the same as going vegan, because keto has all the nutrients you need. It has everything you need. Everything you need. You shouldn't just eat whatever you want whenever you want, because that could lead you down the rabbit hole of, it could eventually lead you down the rabbit hole of, all I want is toast all day long. Toast with peanut butter, jam, and cheese sandwiches. No.
Just to get that feeling into people's minds. The more they say it, the more people just automatically believe it. The more people say, you just need to eat your 5 vegetables a day, the more people believe that's the truth.
And to eat your 11 servings of grains a day.
I know, I certainly did. I was never good at it, but I certainly believed that to be the truth because it was repeated so often. So if we just repeat keto is unsustainable often enough, then people will just believe it. And how does that benefit anybody? Well, it benefits the food industry, it benefits dietitians, because anyone who goes onto a keto diet will always have that doubt in their mind, this is not sustainable, I'm not going to be able to do this long term. And the more likely you are to be questioning yourself, the more likely it is that you're not going to follow through. The more likely it is you're going to fall off the wagon. You can convince yourself of anything. So someone can implant the seed of doubt about something, and when that's reinforced over and over and over and over again, you convince yourself of it.
No. I'm heavy set on this is it, and I'm sticking to it. You can suck eggs. Literally.
And then those same people can just say to you, see, I told you it was unsustainable. I knew you were going to eat that ice cream. The next one is you need to eat fruit every day. So some people will argue this is for energy, but the main argument I hear is that it's for vitamin C. And this is something that a lot of people can worry about, and it's certainly something that I worried about when I've done low carb or keto in the past. I've always tried to seek out the vegetables that I believed had the most vitamin C in there, because we're always told we need to have this much vitamin C every day.
Peppers and berries have vitamin C too.
But it turns out if you're not consuming carbs, if you're not consuming foods that turn into glucose in your body, then the requirement for vitamin C is much, much, much lower. And that requirement can be met through your consumption of meat. If it couldn't be, I should have scurvy now. The next one is LDL should be low. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this because I have talked about this in other videos, but LDL is not something that has to be low in your system. And
apparently, I think my family doctor actually understands that. Like, they're actually like, oh, your cholesterol, we're not too worried about that because blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, okay. Because, like, I thought they were going to say, oh, your LDL is quite high, actually. You might want to take some precautions and try to lower that.
In fact, if you're eating saturated fat, then there's a good chance that your LDL is going to be higher. And if you're consuming carbohydrate, then there's a good chance that the LDL that you have that's maybe higher is going to be glycated. It's going to be oxidized, so it's going to be damaged, and that's where the problem lies.
Yes, exactly. And that's where you get this stuff in the arteries. That's where it happens. It's not from eating just meat. I have heard so many people say that when they get a CAC score, it's 0 after a few years of doing carnivore and keto. But it has to be meat-heavy keto for most of these people.
If you're not consuming carbohydrate, then that LDL is not going to get damaged. And finally, we shouldn't be eating meat. We are naturally plant eaters.
That's a big, bold lie. I don't know how... Because, like, you look through evolutionary history, and I'm sure he's going to cover this too. It's huge, huge. Like, ever since the dawn of humanity, we ate meat. I don't know where vegans get this from. Oh, but we're so different now. We do me. Yeah, yeah, because herbivores love things that are kind of made to look like meat or made to taste savory, or, vegans love savory meat-like products. Warm, juicy, red and beautiful, saucy, colored, warm, and yeah, vegans love that, don't they? They love... That's what carnivores eat. That's what herbivores eat, isn't it? Like, herbivores eat a lot of savory, warm, meat-like products, don't they? Bull crap. Herbivores eat leaves and grass and plants, just fruit. It's not always warm. It might be warm-ish, depending on the time of year, but...
And even if this was the case, which it's not, the implication that we should be eating only plants is that we should also be eating processed food. No,
we would be eating constantly. And if our guts were actually made to do that, we wouldn't have to be rushing to the bathroom with bloody, runny poop. We wouldn't have to be rushing to the bathroom in pain. Our guts would be like fuzzy and warm inside. I'm pretty sure that's how the gut would feel. It'd be fuzzy and warm, and we wouldn't even be able to do any kind of job. We'd be walking around picking food and eating plants 24/7. We'd be still out in the jungles.
the one that says we should only be eating plants is only eating carrots and celery and cucumbers and pineapples. They're also eating Beyond Burgers. They're also eating genetically modified soy.
Exactly.
They're also eating processed wheat.
Most of them are eating those processed foods as well, but Freely, for example, she believes we're frugivores. And a lot of people believe that we're herbivores. I don't think they necessarily all eat processed foods, the ones that say, oh, we're meant to be naturally herbivores, but I think some of them do.
They're also eating vegetable oils. And there is just no way that there was ever an intention for us to consume products like this. Kind of like saying we're now on the 20th generation of this sports car. It's about time that we were able to run it on ice cream. This isn't Back to the Future. We don't have...
Wouldn't that be funny if we could run a car on ice cream?
Cars that can run on banana peels and garbage, and humans can't do it either. Guys, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to click like and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.
I love this guy so much. I think you guys should really check him out. He's really funny. I love him so much. I love his stuff. I really, really do. So, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Oops. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.